Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Saw 3, starring Tobin Bell, Angus McFadden, Dina Meyer, Shawnee Smith, and Bahar Soomke, correct me if I said that wrong, and directed by Darren Lynn Bousman. Now, before I get into the movie, I remember that this one with the brain surgery scene that was pretty sickening. And is it going to remain that way? Let's get into it. We pick up right where Saw 2 left off, and Donnie Wahlberg's Eric Matthews is chained up in the bathroom, the shitty bathroom from Saw 1, and Detective Matthews beats the living shit out of his own foot, which that's gotta fucking hurt, by the way, and releases his foot from the chain. Just, ugh. This has gotta be the most brutal of the Saw movies yet. Carrie gets haunted by Eric Matthews' disappearance, and she gets chained up in an unwinnable test as she sees someone who I'm believing is Amanda, but still unsure, especially when the movie ends, because she says, "You." Like, she couldn't believe it, and gets her sides ripped open, which, ew, because that's gotta be a painful death. We get introduced to Dr. Lynn. I'm just going to call her that throughout the show, because I don't know what her last name is at all. Saving a child's life in a matter of seconds, and a nurse who, I guess is her boss, is upset with Lynn because of that situation, or Dr. Lynn, she had with, which isn't how doctors work. They take their time to make risks. Like, that wasn't really realistic. Amanda wheels Dr. Lynn after Dr. Lynn is captured and taken to John Kramer, played by Tobin Bell, who is dying, and Dr. Lynn tries to keep John alive by the end of the test. And to be honest, I know John was doomed by the end of the movie, so that spoiler was spoiled just when we first see him. And I was right by the end of the movie. We get a man named Jeff, whose son had died years ago, and tries to get revenge from the man who killed his son with his car, and I'll talk about who that is at the end, somewhat during the show. With his car, kind of sounds like the Punisher's origin story, which is another thing I could find predictable and be a terrible writing for other revenge action movie, and I'm hating it that in a horror movie, or in a horror torture porn movie, let me say, just about the fucking torture. Just be about that shit. Jesus. Jeff's test number 1 is a woman in a freezer with no clothes on her whatsoever named Danica Scott, who was a witness to Jeff's son's murder, and she dies from over-freezing to death, and Jeff stands there and thinks she did nothing but sit in her car and drives off, and to just let her die, which honestly was a very poor way for her to die in a torture porn genre. Amanda antagonizes Dr. Lynn while Dr. Lynn is being tested, and she's not a very good house host, Amanda isn't, when it comes to Dr. Lynn. If it were me, if she antagonizes me, I just straight up leave if I don't have a death thing around my neck. But this script has some problems with treating house guests welcome and all that. Jeff's test number 2 is a man who is a judge, and the same judge who let Jeff's son's killer go free. There are pigs chopped off and their blood splattered all over the judge, which reminds me, what the fuck is it with the pigs? Because the pig mask is presented in all of these movies, but in this movie, cutting and giving a pig's blood was not only gross, but it made me feel bad for Miss Piggy. But that scene was too damn ugly for me in my mind. But this whole fucking movie's ugly, I will admit that. Dr. Lynn does a skull and brain surgery. This is the scene that made me scared, by the way. While his eyes are open, which I have a problem with. If you were a doctor and were giving me surgery, you would have to knock me the fuck out. Because if you were doing surgery on me while my eyes were open, I would do 2 things. 1, I would faint, and 2, I would vomit and think I'm fucking dead because Dr. Lynn doesn't knock him out. Like, she's not like she's supposed to. You know, she's got to be the worst doctor ever, in my opinion, in my mind. We find out Amanda kills off Adam from Saw 1, and after the events in Saw 1, she puts Eric Matthews down after a fist fight, and those two scenes makes me not like and lose my respect for Amanda after the second film, even though I didn't care about her then. Jeff's third test is his son's killer named Timothy Young. Yes, a 27-year-old medical student who is African American, by the way, folks. At first doesn't want to save him from death, but has mercy and tries to save him, but doesn't succeed while the judge accidentally gets shot, which that was pointless for reasons that the judge dies. And Jeff is accomplished to murder the son of a bitch that killed his son in the fucking first place, and now has mercy on him? That don't make sense. There was an envelope with a note for Amanda, and we don't know what the fuck it says, and that was infuriating me half to death. Jeff's final test is to forgive Jigsaw, to putting him and his wife, Dr. Lynn, yes, they're married, I don't know why, but they just are, through the shithole he put her through, and Jeff forgives him and cuts his throat open, which that don't make no fucking sense. And then we find out his daughter is in peril, as well as we don't know what happens to her at that point, and the fucking movie ends. Just Jesus. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.9 out of 10. This is the best Saw I can think of, but I still didn't like it because this script has problems. The acting is horrible, and it still doesn't give me a satisfying story or movie by that point. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for Saw 3, and I'll be back next week with Saw 4. And until next time, live or die, make your choice.